"You will not break me." Carl says that to himself on the first floor. His relationship is over, his world is gone, and he is standing inside a system that has one job: extract everything it can from him before he dies. Every system you're in right now is designed to do the same thing. Not to help you, not to develop you, to extract what it needs and return whatever's left. The job measures your output, but there's no spreadsheet to figure out what it costs you. The mortgage is sized around what you can manage and not what you can build. The calendar fills itself, the roles accumulate, and somewhere in the middle of all of it, not in a single dramatic moment, just gradually, on a Tuesday, you stop being the man who entered the system and start being the man the system needs you to be. Most men don't notice until the gap is wide enough to feel. The drive home, the few minutes before going inside, the morning before anyone else is up. That's when it surfaces. Not a crisis, just a quiet question you don't say out loud. Is there anything left that it hasn't gotten to yet? Carl is a former Coast Guard mechanic pulled out of his apartment in the middle of an apocalypse with nothing but the clothes on his back and a pair of pink Crocs. Dropped into an underground dungeon designed by sadistic AI for billions of aliens who just want a good show. A system, literally, an engineered system to extract everything it can from him before he dies. Dungeon Crawler Carl is one of the most read series on the planet right now. Book 8 just released, a comic series, a TV show in development. Most people read it for the world building and the action. But what I couldn't stop thinking about was what Carl does when the system keeps asking him to become something else. He refuses, again and again and again. Consistently, across 7 books and 9 floors, he keeps doing the thing the system has no way to account for. And the dungeon, for all its engineering, never planned for a man who wouldn't stop being himself. By the end of this, you'll understand exactly how he does it, and what that looks like when the system isn't a dungeon, just your life. This is Disassembled Heroes and Villains, and this is the cost of refusing to let the system change you. Quick note before we go any further. This video covers books 1 through 7 of the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. Book 8 just dropped and I'm working through it now, so no spoilers from me on that one yet. And if you want to read or listen before watching further, the audiobook narrated by Jeff Hayes is exceptional. Link is down below. The hardcover editions are sitting right behind me. Those links are there too. And if you want to go deeper on the world of Dungeon Crawler Carl, the characters, the lore, and what it all means, I've got a dedicated episode coming up in a few weeks. Subscribe so you don't miss it. And now, let's talk about Carl. The system got the wrong man. Before the dungeon, Carl is a 27-year-old former Coast Guard mechanic living alone in an apartment with his ex-girlfriend Showcat Princess Donut. No grand plan, no title, no particular ambition in the direction that life rewards. What he has is a quiet sense of what's right and the kind of discipline that doesn't need an audience. We found out early what Carl actually wants, and it isn't power, fame, or even survival. Someone asked him once, if you could do anything, what would it be? He says a forestry service lookout, alone in the woods, watching for fires, nobody watching him back. That's the man the dungeon gets. Not a warrior, he's not a leader in waiting, just a man whose deepest dream is to be left alone to do something useful with no one keeping score. The collapse happens on a Tuesday. 6 billion people disappear as buildings are sucked into the ground below. Carl is left holding his ex-girlfriend's Showcat with nothing on his back but the clothes he's wearing and a pair of pink Crocs. With those few items, he descends the stairs into the dungeon. The system gives him stats, a leaderboard. It puts a bounty on his head and turns his suffering into content for a universe that wants to watch. Carl isn't always gentle in that dungeon. He does things that even frighten him. Things that work precisely because he's willing to go further than most. The system tries to use that, tries to make him into something he can predict and deploy. It never fully works, because the dungeon is just an honest version of something most of us already know. The job that measures your output, but not what it costs you. The system that rewards performance and has no measure for what you gave up to perform. The life where you show up every day and the clock keeps spinning until you don't recognize who you've become. Carl doesn't get a choice about entering the dungeon. Most of us don't either. What we get to choose is who we are inside it, and you see that choice from the very first floor. Carl is moving through a kobold boss chamber when he finds them. Caged danger dingoes, injured, curled up, their dots still red on his minimap, technically enemies, technically free experience if he wants it. Donut says the obvious thing, we should probably kill them. Carl says, hang on, not yet. He stops at one cage, it's missing one eye, old scars and new ones. He hears cheers from behind the boss door and figures out what's been happening to these animals. His instant reaction is real. I hated this place. I hated it so damn much. He searches for a healing scroll. He doesn't have one. Only Donut's pet biscuits. He throws one in anyway. Donut protests, that's her food. Carl says, I'm trying something. The dot turns white. He feeds all 14. When the boss fight starts, those dingoes break the spell holding them and turn on the kobolds. The one-eyed one kills the boss. Carl didn't know what was going to happen. He didn't stop because it was strategic. He stopped because he looked at what was actually in front of him and couldn't walk past it. The system offered him the efficient path. Kill the dingoes for experience, move on, stay on schedule. That's what the systems do. They show you the frictionless route and call it smart. Most men would take it, not because they're bad or lazy or stupid, because the system has been rewarding that choice their whole lives. Carl pauses. He hangs on. Not yet. It's not the heroics. It's not the fight scene that follows. The moment before the easy wrong thing where a man decides who he actually is. The system you're in right now is running the same play, showing you the frictionless route, calling it efficient, calling it practical, calling it what a smart man would do. You already know what you've been walking past. You've probably done it this week. But hang on, not yet. That's where it starts. The system has a preferred way of handling grief. Process it efficiently, don't let it affect your output, file it somewhere it won't slow you down and get back to work. That's what high-performing men do. That's what the culture rewards. Carl gets a message in the third book. A man named Brandon, someone Carl met briefly on the first floor, someone who sacrificed himself to save people he barely knew, left a final message before he died. It ends with this: tell him I love him. That's the most important part. Carl reads it in full. He doesn't skim it. He doesn't file it away for later. He doesn't perform for the audience watching his every move. He sits with the whole weight of it. Then he slides off the counter, walks to the training room, and goes back to work fighting for his life in this game show hellscape with more anger burning inside him than he started with. That's it. That's the whole scene. The system wanted Carl to do one of two things. Either breeze past it, show nothing, keep moving, demonstrate that he's the kind of man who doesn't let things land, or collapse under it. Let the grief consume him and stop functioning. Carl does neither. He reads it in full, he lets it land, soaks it in, then he goes to work. It's not resilience in the same way the system defines resilience. It's something harder. It's refusing to let the system decide how much something is allowed to cost you. Most men handle grief one of two ways. They carry it without feeling it, which means it never moves through them. It just accumulates, it builds up, shows up sideways in places they don't expect. Or they feel it, and stop there, and the weight of it slowly starts to erode their identity. Carl does both in the same breath. He feels it, he carries it, and he keeps going. I've had those conversations, the ones I kept putting off because the truth on the other side was heavier than I wanted to carry. What I found wasn't that it got easier. The weight stopped ambushing me. There's a difference between carrying something and being buried by it. You will not break me isn't just a declaration of defiance. It's a man acknowledging that something cost him and deciding what comes next. The system you're in right now has its own version of Brandon's message. The conversation you've been half having for months. The relationship where you already know it's true but haven't said it. The number you haven't looked at directly. Read it in full. You don't have to fix it today. You just have to stop ignoring it. Then, go to work. The system is a name for the people in your way. Obstacles, resources, variables to be managed. The efficient path doesn't stop for them. It routes around them, processes them, deploys them. Carl keeps refusing to think in the same way. There's a pattern to how he moves through the dungeon that the leaderboard never captures. He keeps stopping. Not because there's a reward waiting, not because the system incentivizes it, because he looks at what's actually in front of him and can't make himself walk past it. 3 scenes from the series prove this better than anything else. The first involves an NPC named Growler Gary. Gary is a null bartender, a creature Carl has to repeatedly kill to collect a quest item. Not once, not twice, 14 times. The same NPC, reset, and reborn each time, serving drinks behind the same bar, with no memory of what came before. The dungeon offer is clean. Kill him, collect the item, move on. Gary's a resource. That's all this game needs him to be. By the 5th kill, Carl stops pretending this is just mechanics. He tells Gary the truth, that he's going to keep dying, that Carl is the one doing it, that he's sorry. Gary listens, and then, knowing what's coming, he chooses to be brave anyway. Carl carries that. No experience points for that conversation, no achievement unlocked telling an NPC the truth about what you're doing to him. Just a man who decided that if he had to keep doing something hard, he was at least going to look it in the eyes first. The second scene is smaller. It's easier to miss. Carl encounters a grieving creature named Twizquick whose daughter had just died. Except the daughter never actually existed. She was conjured by the dungeon, a construct, never real. The default option is to walk past it. There's nothing to fix. The grief isn't real. The efficient path doesn't stop for constructs. Carl can't fix that. There is no fix. So he kneels down. Says the one true thing he can say. One day, this pain you're feeling right now will matter. Then he stays. Not long, 30 seconds. Not because it changes anything. just because Tisquick is there and Carl is there and walking away felt wrong. Then he gets up and moves on. Gary's honesty, doing the hard thing with integrity when no one would know if you can cut the corner. Tisquick is presence. It's staying with someone in their pain without trying to fix it or route around them. Both of them are the same refusal. The AI says these people don't count. Carl says they do. The men who are good at one usually struggle with the other. The fixers just can't sit with someone. The listeners avoid the hard, honest conversations. Carl does both. Not perfectly, but consistently. Which one is harder for you right now? The honest conversation you've been routing around, or the moment of presence you've been substituting with a solution they didn't ask for? You know which one it is. Because then, there's Chris Andrews. Chris is Brandon's brother. Carl has been carrying Brandon's death since the moment that message arrived. Now he finds Brandon's brother enslaved deep in the dungeon, his mind controlled by something Carl can barely fight. Chris gets a message out. Please kill me. It's okay. He means it. He's been through enough. He's asking for the mercy of an ending. The system's offer here is the most seductive one yet. Honor the request. It's humane. It's efficient. It closes the loop. A man who can't be saved is a resource the dungeon is using against Carl. Removing him is just good strategy. Carl's response, hey Chris, go fuck yourself. We're going to figure this out. Several floors later at enormous cost, Chris is free. This is what the system can never take away from Carl and never plans for. Not the strength to fight, not the stats or the leaderboard position or the ability to survive impossible floors. The refusal to turn people into variables. Gary is a quest mechanic. Tisquick is a side NPC. Chris is a liability. That's how the system sees them. Carl sees people. There's probably someone in your life right now who the system around you has quietly reclassified. The colleague who stopped performing. The friend who keeps saying they're fine. The person who has made peace with the smaller version of their life and stopped asking for help. The frictionless route is to just go around them. Don't take the frictionless route. Go figure it out. The system doesn't usually come at you directly. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't make a single dramatic demand. It makes a series of reasonable ones. Each one small enough to say yes to, each one building on the last. And somewhere in the middle of all those reasonable yeses, the goal that it was supposed to give you freedom starts to cost you the people the freedom was for. By the 6th book, the dungeon has a new offer for Carl. Not survival, not the leaderboard, something more seductive than either. More power. Enough to change everything. Enough to make the remaining floors survivable in a way nothing else can guarantee. But before the offer arrives, Carl hears a story. It comes from a woman named Odette, the most powerful media personality in the dungeon, the person who has been profiting from his suffering since floor 1. Odette had a crawler she promised to protect, a man named Mordecai. Someone who reminded her of a cousin she'd once been forced to choose between saving or letting die. She made the wrong choice once. She wasn't going to make it again. But somewhere along the way, her desperation to finish her own contract, to finally escape the dungeon after centuries of servitude, consumed everything else. She stopped seeing Mordecai, she stopped seeing the people around him, she only saw the exit. And because of it, she made a decision that got Mordecai's brother killed. She says this to Carl, I did that. I killed him. I broke Mordecai into so many pieces there's no hope for him. I used to hope he'd find a way to get himself killed before he was free, because I just know that will be the final cruelty, releasing him without purpose into an empty universe. He has nobody. Centuries of guilt, one moment of obsession. Carl sits with that. Odette doesn't have a word for what happened for her. Carl finds one later. In the backstory of a floor called the Ghost of Earth, the Bedlam Bride, there's a spider in Carl's card deck named She Maria. She has an extra eye, one she keeps closed. When she opens it, it blinds and paralyzes whatever it touches. And her story carries a warning. Never stare into the blinding eye of the Bedlam Bride. When the eye shows itself, it's all you can see. Everything else disappears. The people you promised to protect, the reasons you started, the version of yourself that existed before the obsession. That's what the exit was for Odette. One thing filling the whole frame, till the people she loved became invisible. Carl listens. He understands. Then the dungeon offers him the same eye. A ring. The ring of divine suffering. If Carl uses it, he can mark tens of thousands of surrendered enemies and kill them all at once, maxing his stats, making the floors ahead survivable in a way nothing else can guarantee. He watches what it does to another crawler who uses it, watches her become something unrecognizable, watches the obsession replace the thing that made her worth following. He's seen this before, so Carl pulls the ring from his inventory, holds it up in front of Donut. She takes it in her mouth and swallows it, destroying it with her newfound skills. Gone. The power was real. The floors ahead are dangerous. He chooses anyway, quietly, being watched by quintillions across the universe, with the world literally on fire around him, that he was not going to become that. Here's what the system is actually doing when it makes that offer. It's not asking you to become evil. It's not asking you to abandon your values in a single dramatic moment. It's asking you to stare into that eye long enough that everything else becomes secondary. The grind that started as ambition and quietly became the only thing you can see. The promotion that requires you to become someone your family doesn't recognize. The goal that was supposed to give you freedom, but has started to cost you the people that freedom was for. Most men don't notice when they've started staring. The work gets a little more consuming. The presence gets a little thinner. The scoreboard becomes the only mirror. Carl notices, and he chooses. What's your ring right now? Not the thing you're proud of working towards. The thing that has started to make you less of who you actually are. The thing you already know has gone from a tool to something closer to an obsession. The system will keep offering it. That's what systems do. You have to be honest enough to name it, because the eye only blinds you if you keep staring. By the fourth book, the mantra has changed. It started as a tool for survival, a few words spoken to no one, a man refusing to be consumed by something designed to consume him. Then comes a stairwell. Carl is standing at the top with Donut and Mongo, about to descend into another floor that wants to kill them. No audience, no cameras. The universe isn't watching this moment, or if it is, Carl isn't performing for it. He speaks. By the time the 6th floor collapses, every single hunter who dares to set foot on the same floor as us will be dead. This I swear on my life. One by one, I will break you. I will break you all. Then he goes down the stairs. It's not defiance anymore. Not a man silently cursing at the void. It's a declaration made to no one, with everything on the line. The system designed the dungeon to extract compliance. Carl just declared war on that system. By the end of the 6th book, it shifts one final time. Carl is floating above a world being stripped clean. Everything is gone. The people he's lost, the floors beneath him, the floors behind him. You will not break me. You will be avenged. I swear it. I swear it to you all. He's not talking to the dungeon anymore. He's talking to the dead, to Brandon, who chose to sacrifice for strangers, to Mordecai's brother, who died because someone else's obsession, to everyone the floors have taken. The mantra that started as a man refusing to be broken has become a promise made to people who can no longer hear it. That's what happens when the system fails to extract the thing it came for. It doesn't just leave you intact. It leaves you with something the system never planned on. A vow. A reason that outlasts the pressure. A name underneath the work that makes the next floor possible. Then, at the very end of the 7th book, Donut says it. Not Carl. Donut. The cat who started the series as a pure performer. The show animal there for comedic relief. The one the dungeon assumed would be the first thing Carl sacrificed for efficiency. Says the worlds Carl has been carrying since the floor 1. They are not going to break me, no matter how hard they try. The dungeon couldn't take it from Carl, and somewhere along the way, without either of them planning it, he gave it to her instead. The thing he refused to lose became the thing she now carries. It's the proof the system never accounts for. It models extraction. It models attrition. It models what happens when a man gives in gradually, one reasonable compromise at a time. It never models what happens when he doesn't. When a man holds on to something long enough, his sense of what's right, his capacity to see people, his refusal to turn the work into the only thing, it doesn't just stay with him, it spreads. It becomes the thing the people around him start to carry without knowing where it came from. 9 floors. Every tool the system had, and what Carl walked out of that stairwell with wasn't stats or rankings or powers. It was the same thing he walked in with, himself. That's what the worst dungeon ever designed couldn't take from him, and that's worth paying attention to. Before we finish, if this is hitting for you, subscribe and drop a comment below. I'll take a look, and I want to know, what are you not letting the system take from you right now? It doesn't have to be resolved. It doesn't have to be big. Just what's the one thing you're still holding on to? Name it, drop it below, let's talk about it, and let's finish this. I want to talk to you directly for a minute. Not about Carl, about you, and honestly, about me. Because the system I just described, the one designed to extract everything it can and return whatever's left, I'm in it too. And I know exactly what it's been asking me to give up. It's 2 a.m., there's a newborn who needs a bottle, I've been working all day, took care of a toddler all evening, and the house didn't stop needing things either. I'm lying there in the dark, doing the math on how many hours until the alarm goes off, and knowing the number isn't enough. And when my wife offers to take the next one, I say no, I'm okay. I don't know exactly why I do that. Part of it is wanting to protect her sleep. Part of it is pride. But part of it is that somewhere along the way, I got so used to carrying everything alone that relying on others started to feel like the harder option. That's the system working, constantly, grinding away in the back of your mind. A man who got so used to the extraction that he started extracting from himself, gritting his teeth, staying functional, performing fine. I'm an actuary, I have a family, a newborn and a toddler, and 2 hours a day, maybe, to build something that feels like mine. There was a long stretch where I sat at a desk doing work that paid the bills and told myself the ceiling was just the ceiling. that this was what responsible looked like. And somewhere in that stretch, I stopped asking whether the version of me showing up every day was actually me. That's the Tuesday the dungeon opens. Not the apocalypse, just the ordinary morning where you realize you've been fine for so long, you've forgotten what not fine even feels like. The thing the system has been trying to take from me, and the thing I keep refusing to give it, is the reason I built this channel. In the margins of an actuarial career, with kids, with a few hours a day if I'm lucky, because I needed the mirror, because fiction does something self-help can't. It shows you the truth about yourself through someone else's story, and you could look at it without flinching. That's what Carl is for me. That's what I want this channel to be for you. Paul wrote to the Romans, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." The pattern of this world is a system. It has a preferred shape for you, what you should want, what you should sacrifice, what you should become in the process of getting it. And conforming to that pattern is so gradual, so reasonable, so rewarded at every step that most men don't notice they've done it until the gap is wide enough to feel. The renewing of your mind is what Carl models. Staying present when the system rewards efficiently, staying honest when the system rewards performance, refusing the ring when the system offers it. Because the men who finally get out, who build something real, who leave the system on their own terms, they're the ones who refuse to let it have the thing it actually came for. The men who gave it everything arrive at the exit and find a stranger looking back at them. And it starts the same place Carl does, now with a dramatic moment, just with a man deciding, on a Tuesday, that the version of him the system needs is not the version he's willing to become. Carl proves that's possible inside a dungeon designed by sadistic AI for alien entertainment. You can prove it too, in your own life, on your own terms, for the people counting on you, and for the version of yourself that's still in there, waiting for you to stop letting the system tell you he's gone. Carl doesn't finish the dungeon, not in 7 books, at least not yet. He's still in it, still descending, still carrying the weight of everyone he's lost and every promise he's made to people who can no longer hear him. But here's what the system couldn't take from him across 9 floors of trying. He still stops for the injured animal when nobody's watching. He still reads the message in full. He still stays 30 seconds with the person he can't save. He still throws away the ring, and he still says to the world, "You will not break me." The system designed every floor to make that harder. Every floor took something. Every floor offered the efficient path, the reasonable compromise, the version of Carl that would be easier to manage. It's a decision he makes again every single floor. You're in a system right now. It has a preferred path for you. It has been making reasonable demands since before you noticed it was doing it. And somewhere between where you started and where you are, on a Tuesday, gradually without a single dramatic moment, it has been asking you to become someone else. The exit exists. It's real. The men who reach it on their own terms, who build something that actually belongs to them, who leave with something worth having, they're the ones who refuse to let the system have the thing it actually came for. The men who gave it everything wake up at the exit and don't recognize the person standing there. So you have a choice, not the grand one, the small one, the one you make today, in the ordinary moment, before anyone is watching and nothing is guaranteed, the pause before the easy wrong thing, the message you read in full, the person you stay 30 seconds with, the ring you put down. "You will not break me" isn't just Carl's line. It's available to you, right now, on this floor, wherever that floor is. Make that choice. And with that, stay disciplined, stay present, stay faithful, and as always, stay handsome.